first grade. It's Mrs. Haas. Today we are going to read the Geode in motion. I thought that because this book is based on lots of things that are in motion outside, I thought that I would read this to you from my front porch. So go ahead and grab your book and we will get started. We are reading In Motion, written by Emily Clymer, and the diagrams are by Andy Peterson. Now some of you may be thinking, what is a diagram? Let's take a look through this text and see if we can figure that out. Go ahead and point to those words and follow along with me. Before we get started on page number 1, I want you to think, what is motion? What is motion? And look at both of the illustrations and think, what does that word mean? If you're thinking motion connects to the word moving, then you are right. Motion is something that is in movement or something that is moving. Here we go. Page number 1. You spot a flag. It flaps in the sky. You feel a breeze. It brushes past your past your skin. You hear a strong gust. It slams the door. Is there a story that we can connect to where the wind was so strong and powerful that it slammed the door shut? If you're thinking about Owl at Home, then you are right. All right, take a look at all of the different things that the wind can do here on page number 1 and turn the page. Pages 2 and 3. This is the wind. We cannot see it, but it is there. The wind brings motion to our world. Very cool. And I'm thinking back to one of our wit and wisdom stories from page number 3, where I see that windmill. Page 4, take a look at the title on page 4. It says, How is the wind formed? Air is all around us. It fills the sky over the earth. When the sun shines on the earth, the air gets hot. And then down here, there's a little caption that says, the sun is a very big, hot star. It brings light and heat to the earth. Page 5. This hot air drifts up. Once it has drifted up, cold air rushes in to fill its spot. And then the caption down here says, hot air rises, cold air sinks down. What do you think happens when that hot air goes up and that cold air comes down? If you're thinking that it creates wind, then you are right. Very good. Turn the page, pages 6 and 7. The wind is air in motion. It blows when hot and cold air shift spots in the sky. So when we have hot air and cold air, and when they change spots, that is what creates wind. Pages 8 and 9, we have a new title. Pages 8 and 9 are going to be about how do we measure the wind? So how can we figure out how much or how little wind there is or which direction it's blowing? It is no small task to measure a thing we cannot see. We have crafted many tools to help. Let's read the words and then we'll go to the caption. It says, this one tells the direction of the wind. You look at where the tip of the arrow has landed. And then the caption says, this is a wind vane. The tip spins as the wind blows. So whichever way it is pointing, that is the direction that the wind is blowing. So if it's pointing towards the S, the wind is blowing south. If it's pointing towards the N, the wind is blowing north. E would be east and W would be what? West. You got it. All right, page 9. Here's another way that we can measure the wind. It says, this one tells how fast the wind is passing by. You track the number of spins. So it says, this is an anemometer. It has 3 cups that sit on a rod. When the wind hits the cups, the rod spins. And you can figure out how fast the wind is passing based on how many times it actually does spin around. So we can figure out how fast the wind is blowing, and we can also figure out which direction the wind is blowing. Very interesting. Pages 10 and 11. We cannot see the wind, but we can tell its path and how fast it moves. When the wind blows, it brings changes in the weather. What kind of changes could the wind bring in the weather? Can you think of any types of weather that involve really quick or fast blowing wind? Maybe a hurricane or a tornado. Pages 12 and 13. Ooh, take a look at just the illustration. Oh, excuse me, not an illustration, the picture. This is a real life picture on page 12. And then on page 13, we have 3 more pictures, and then we have some words. So the first set of words says, big storms blow over. Hot spells end. The sun pops out as the clouds drift by. Last page, page 14. With its gusts and lulls, the wind brings motion to our world. So very, very fascinating to think about all of the different things in our world that are in motion. I'm going to go ahead and read us the more section, and then I'm going to give you guys 2 different challenges that you can try to complete with our story in motion. So follow along with me as we read the more page. It says, the earth is surrounded by a bubble of air. When the air moves, it creates wind and weather. The moon is different. It is not surrounded by a bubble of air, so the moon has no wind or weather. Because there is no wind on the moon, its surface remains largely unchanged. There are no strong winds to break down or erode the rocks, so they stay large. Any imprints left on the surface of the moon are long-lasting. An astronaut's footprint from years ago is still stamped into the moon dust because there is no wind to blow it away. So I wonder what our world would look like if we didn't have wind. It would probably be a lot more boring than the world that we have today. So here are your 2 challenges. The first challenge is to go through this story and see if you can find the words that end with a suffix ed. Let me give you one helpful tool. One of the helpful tools I'm going to give you is to look in some of those headings or some of those titles at the very tops of the pages. You might be able to find 1 or even 2 when you look at the top of the title. So your first challenge is to find the ed words. When I looked through this story, I was able to find 5. I wonder if you can find 5 as well. Can you find all 5 of the ed words? If you take a look in the more section, you will probably be able to find even more. My 5 did not include the more section, but see if you can find at least 5 in the text, and then see if you can challenge yourself by going to that more section. Your second challenge is to go outside and see what is in motion in your neighborhood. What do you see moving with the wind? Maybe you see branches that are blowing, maybe you see grass that's blowing, maybe you see a leaf that is floating by on the ground because the wind is blowing it. But make a list. You could write them down, you could talk about them with someone in your family, you could even just think about them in your brain. But go outside and see, what do I notice that is in motion in my own neighborhood? So those are your 2 challenges, and I look forward to hearing about how those go for you guys. I'll talk to you later.